The devil is the prince of the powers of the air. There is a lot of people that try to play down the power of the devil, but the devil is extremely powerful. In fact, it's only through adherence to Christ that we do have the victory over him. And we do not have the victory over him if we try to skip any of the procedures. Like, we have to keep away from sin, we have to seek the Lord's face, we have to be filled with the Holy Spirit, we have to be obedient, all of these things. And we have to be discerning, because he's a very, very powerful adversary. And, you know, the idea that he's a defeated foe and all these things, yeah, this is, I'm not taking away from that, but I think that sometimes people go, oh, okay, I can go back to sleep then, when they hear that. And that's not the case. Now, the prince of the powers of the air, that generally is seen as the idea that the devil and his demons or the fallen angels or whatever inhabit a domain that's unseen, that's just in our upper atmosphere, or, you know, in the sky, spiritually speaking. He is the ruler of this world, so he has dominion over this world. But this idea of being the prince of the powers of the air also goes back to something that's a bit more from the ancient way of thinking. And without getting right into it, the point is that his dominion, his realm, and the power he has is really in the intellect and the area of communication, music, ideas, thoughts, speech, you know. And that is why, you know, that's when you think about it, you know, spiritual warfare is for the most part to do with combating thoughts. A lot of the time, you know, it can, and also, you know, obviously he tries to give us false words, false prophecies. Also, you know, you might be speaking to what often happens to me is I'm speaking to somebody, communicating with somebody on the phone or something, because in realms of technology where you have communication, he can get into that. So, you know, your phone cuts off when you're saying something that's particularly important, you know, concerning spiritual matters. That's his domain. That's where he fights. That's where he gets at us. Even in dreams, you know, it's ideas, it's thoughts. Of course, these things can it can have an influence in terms of disease and death and all sorts of things, but it's really in this realm, especially for us as Christians, that's where the battle is. You know, we're told, you know, that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God for demolishing strongholds, pulling out down arguments and imaginations, and every high and lofty thing that exalts itself above the name of God, taking every thought captive to Christ until our obedience is complete. And so, you know, we have to fight by be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. It's all that stuff. So, but the point I'm really getting to is that he's very persuasive in that area, you have to be so vigilant and so determined to not be put off and swayed from things that he doesn't want you to do. And the primary thing he does not want you to do, and I know this because I've been trying to make this video about 4 or 5 times now, is that he doesn't want, the one area that is the most threatening to him is the coming together of the Word and the Spirit in the church. And you'll notice that it practically never happens. Most churches lean one to one or to the other, but they rarely come together because for some reason there's this kind of, outside of, churches that are just completely apostate, you tend to have this division between churches that sort of lean into the Word, tend to be more cessationist, or more into the kind of charismatic and moving in the Spirit. Neither of these are right. When people move in the Spirit too much, they tend to kind of just get a bit kind of too lovey-dovey, and just they shy away from the weightier matters of hell and judgment and whatever, Whereas with the people that are right into the Word, more often than not, because they sort of deny certain the parts of the moving of the Spirit, because it is essentially, from our point of view, kind of irrational, and they can't deal with that part of it, they sort of cut the power off, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. Because you can read the Bible out and you can be very clever with the Bible, but there's no power in it. There's no power unless the two come together. That's where the fruit is. Fruit is a spiritual thing. It's not something you can't just by reading some in the Bible. One person can read the Bible, but they're devoid of the Holy Spirit and nothing happens. Somebody else can read the Bible and they're anointed and something happens. It's just the way it works. It's the coming together of the two. And you'll notice that there's an incredible resistance. That's because that's where the enemy puts all his efforts, is into stopping that happening. And when the church brings those two things together, that is when you'll see the church triumphant. That's when you'll see the bride in its glory, the final bride before the return of the Lord. It's when the Word and the Spirit come together, and that's where. So in all those churches, and if you're in I've been to charismatic churches, they kind of just want to be all just, it's love and peace, man. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of their thing, and they're just full of demons because the Word is not reining things in. But then on the other hand, these people that are so into the Word, they have to be honest, they've both got religious spirits, but they tend towards a certain kind of religiosity that just quenches the Spirit. Well, I don't even think they even engage with the Spirit. But when the two come together, that is when you'll see, that is what the enemy is afraid of. That is what he's more afraid of than anything else, apart from the return of the Lord. He's afraid of the church finding its true power in the combination of the Word and the power of the Holy Spirit.